Hello, hello, hello. Oh, well, that's not a good way to start. I already got kicked out of my space. And I downloaded the um, update. Okay. So I'm going to text this to Liza and let me get that done real quick. Get them in here. Um, oh, there she is. All right. Co-host. Cousin It. Let me get her to speak. Frog speaking. Oh, what happened to Stellar? I saw her, now she's gone. I see you.
I see you.
Yeah, I see Cousin It. I don't know if she wants to co-host or just be a speaker. I invited Frog to speak. There he goes. And I saw Stellar in here. Oh, there she is. Yeah. Okay. She's back. All right. So, Cousin It, you want to be the co-host or you want Frog to be?
I don't know, Frog, you in the mood?
I'm always down. I'm down like 4 flats on a hoopty. I'm down like 4 flats on a hoopty.
All right.
Yeah, because you're better at the bots, and my data service absolutely sucks.
Okay.
So I'm dealing with Verizon Net. I deal with the Verizon Nazis on like a daily basis. So it does not like this spaces thing.
Anything to help you guys, as long as Jared, that grifter, isn't allowed in here, we're good to go.
Well, permission granted.
Okay. So
have you guys noticed people are getting more triggered? Just, have you guys noticed that? People seem to be amping up on the triggering.
100%. Yeah.
Might have something to do with Biden just calling Zelensky President Putin when he introduced him. Funniest damn thing. Funny? Oh my God. Super funny. Right. I mean, I'm on the floor dying.
Okay, that is funny. I missed that one. I have been.
He introduced him today, and instead of calling, he gave him this grand entrance, and then just said it was instead of saying President Zelensky, he said President Putin, and the look on Zelensky's face was, that will stay with me forever.
I love it. Yeah, I'll definitely have to go watch that. So, I think we've kind of put the question mark that I had on the WWF and the 1001 Club, whether it was just a bunch of elites getting together or whether it was actually integrated into Operation Gladio, to rest. It is definitely part of Operation Gladio, but I've spent the entire day in a rabbit hole, which is why I didn't want to leave this topic completely, but I don't want to dwell anymore on it because I think we've more than proven the case that the WWF is evil and it has nothing to do with wildlife, and we've all been lied to yet again. But in doing that, I had to take a step back this morning and started thinking about, well, if they lied to us about that, what else have they lied to us about as far as these organizations go, right? So I started taking a look at several of them, and I'm going to talk about one of them tonight, but I want to talk about foundations first. So I don't know if you guys have noticed. I made this comment a long time ago, kind of flippantly, but I had to revisit it today. The foundations appear to me, well, let me back up. We've come across a lot of people with unbelievable, not in a miracle, but unbelievable, like they're not believable at all, histories. And I'm starting to notice patterns. Most of these people at some point in that have been behind all of this, a lot of them were either orphaned or had a parent die when they were young, mother or dad, and have had significant trauma as a kid. And then, like out of nowhere, they're a billionaire. And that always seems a bit odd. And they always have some not believable story, like, I created this Facebook in my garage kind of story. Some of them were, yeah, I had like a canoe and I carried people across from New Jersey to New York. And then all of a sudden I was able to afford a boat. And then now I have 50 boats and I'm a billionaire. Those kind of stories. Lots of those kind of stories. So, and all of those people that have those incredible, unbelievable, like not believable at all stories, somehow all end up with a foundation, like the Ford Foundation, the Carnegie Foundation, and all of those foundations. And I started looking at these foundations, and most of these foundations were Frog, I think you're unmuted.
Sorry, I'm sitting here working in my office.
That's okay.
Go ahead.
Well, that was fun. Do it again.
My bad.
Most of these foundations are not that old. Like definitely post World War II. And then I got to thinking, what? These families are old, like 200 years old. Why would they just have foundations after World War II? And Bridget and Cousin Ed and I have talked incessantly about the black gold fund from Europe post World War II, the
Durham Trust,
the Operation Golden Lily gold from the Philippines, from the Pacific Theater post World War II. A lot of that gold went somewhere, like billions, like hundreds of billions of dollars worth. Because if you look at just the one guy, one of many that was laundering gold out of Golden Lily, his net worth, which was 5 to 10% of what he trafficked for Marcos, was $46 billion. That's his small percentage commission for laundering the gold that he laundered. And there were many of him. So I'm going to speculate here, and I'm going to say that a lot of these foundations are repository for, and I've never said this before, but I'm now like 99% convinced that these foundations are repositories for money that they have laundered from us. And when you understand the role that these foundations have played and who's all behind them, it'll start to make sense. So I want to give you just a few of them. And I do mean a few because there's a lot of them. I'm going to talk about the Annenberg Foundation. The Annenberg Foundation was founded in 1993, which is an odd year. 1993. So,
Can you spell it?
huh?
Can you spell the name? Annenberg?
It's Annenberg. Now,
Thank you.
just a little bit. It was based on the fortune of a Pilgrims Society member, and Pilgrim Society, just so that you know, is a group that consisted of Rockefeller, Mellon, Luce, Media, Rothschild, Cecil, the Windsors, the Federal Reserve, and is intimately involved with the CIA. It's interwoven with the Templars, the Masonic lodges. So just to give you a flavor, and they definitely are all wrapped up in the CIA. So one of the Pilgrim Society members was Walter Annenberg. Walter Annenberg created the Annenberg Foundation. And weirdly enough, having just come off of the World Wildlife Foundation, he's spent a lot of his money financing environmental movements. So all of this green bullshit, which again is another mechanism to launder money from us to them. So they've created these foundations as like big vacuum cleaners. And that's literally what the purpose is that they're serving. So from their website, when the Annenberg Public Policy Center was established in 1993, its founders, Ambassador Walter and Lenore Annenberg, sought to increase the impact of the scholarship produced at Penn's Annenberg School for Communication, the Policy Center's home. The Annenberg Public Policy Center of the University of Pennsylvania was developed or has developed an award-winning initiative, blah, blah, blah. And then it goes on to say that Annenberg Foundation was endowed by Walter Annenberg. Annenberg's family business, Triangle Publications, included both TV Guide and 17 magazine, you know, for young teen girls, as well as hundreds of radio and television stations across the United States. Oh, like in propaganda. Oh my gosh. And here's some of the donations. Natural Resources Defense Council, Sierra Club, which of course is tied to the WWF, and the Tides Foundation. Huh. That's weird. And he's given a lot of money to the Tides Foundation. Annenberg also helps NPR and Public Radio International, which both are basically CIA mouthpieces. Let's see. There is the Chicago Annenberg Challenge, which came to be chaired by none other than Barack Obama, and also counted the involvement of Obama's friend Bill Ayers. Together, they served on the board of the Woods Fund, which was basically financed by a thing called the Joyce Foundation, of which Obama was a longtime trustee, and the Annenbergs funded both. So, do you see what I'm saying? Then we get to a thing called, let's see. Oh, yeah, this one was a fun one too. Let me get down here. Hold on. So here's one called the Bauman, Bauman Foundation. It was founded in 1982. And Lionel Bauman, upon his death in 87, Patricia Bauman and her husband, John Landrum Bryant, took over the managing of the foundation, which had $100 million in total assets. That's a lot of smack. So here's who they gave their money to and continue to. Oh, Media Matters. The Nation. They donated money to the National Security Archives. That sounds a little weird. They're well known for giving money to environmentalist issues, social justice, changeofcolor.org, NAACP. Oh, and pro-immigration groups, which basically goes and snatches up people and brings them to the United States and plops them down here. So nothing to see here at all, just the funding of the demise.
The Media Matters, that's Soros's group, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Isn't that weird?
I wouldn't think that Soros needs like donations.
Any money at all, right? Oh, and
Media Matters is David Brock,
but
James
Soros,
Alofanis' boyfriend.
yeah, Soros does donate to him.
Big time.
Yeah, and so also they're very big givers to the Brennan Center for Justice, the Brookings Institute, and Center for American Progress. Earth Day.
So they donate to MI6 too.
Yeah.
That's
Environmental Defense Fund, Environmental Law Institute. Let's see. They are on several different groups together with the Rockefeller Family Fund, the Rockefeller Philanthropy Advisors. Oh gosh, there it is. The Sierra Club Foundation, the Tides Foundation, Voter Participation Center, and Voting for America. So you kind of get the idea of what they're all about. And then, of course, it goes without saying, Bill and Melinda Gates. That was founded in 2000. We're very familiar with that. Carnegie Corporation. Let's see. Carnegie Institute for Science. So Carnegie Corporation was part of, Andrew Carnegie was part of the Pilgrim Society as well. And the Carnegie Corporation has funded Democracy Now!, Foundation for National Progress. They donate to Mother Jones Magazine, Carnegie Institute for Science. Let's see. Their board is like the who's who of the yesteryears back in the day. That Cleveland Dodge, Vannevar Bush, Charles Towns. These are people that I've ran across in several of mine. William Hewlett, like Hewlett Packard. These guys were trustees or board members. And Carnegie is one of the exceptions that was founded before World War II. Most of these were not. The Daphne Foundation, which is Disney, you spell it Daphne, Daphne. It was founded in 1991 by Abigail Disney and her husband. And let's see. She's a big donator to feminist gun-hating lobbies and ethnic crime statistic suppression. Let's see. No, I don't know who that is. Cousin It. And so let's see. She focuses, she's a one that funds third world immigration to the United States too. She campaigns for higher taxes. Abigail Disney was part of the bizarre cult group of Nexium and a part of Ethical Humanitarian Foundation network of Keith Raniere and the Brofman sisters. Nothing to see here. Doris Duke Charitable Fund. It was created in 1996. It has $1.72 billion as of 2016. It finances NPR, National Resources Defense Council, the Nature Conservatory, donates a lot of money to Harvard, Yale, UCLA, Florida. And the trust chairman is Peter Nadosy, Nadosy, a graduate of Harvard and Columbia, and was an executive at Morgan Stanley, who also serves as a trustee on the Ford Foundation. And let's see, Field Foundation, FIELD. It was founded right during World War II by Marshall Field III, the grandson of the Chicago merchant, like Field's department store. We used to have one of those in my hometown. Let's see. Get down to what he donates to. Oh goodness, he's like in bed with everybody. He was part of the Pilgrim Society. He was on the CFR. He was a board member of Standard Oil, Bethlehem Steel, Avril Harriman's original group, Anaconda Mining, JP Morgan's, the Peabody's Mutual Life Insurance. Yeah, so this guy was connected to everybody. He was a 30-year member of the CFR, so he must have been one of their founding members. Marshall Field's close British friend was one-time Cambridge classmate and later Churchill cabinet member Oliver Littleman, and he was part of Cecil Rhodes' secret society called the Milner Group. And I've done a little bit of research on that. That's where Rothschild, Balfour, Cecil Rhodes, and all of those guys belong to the Milner Group, which basically was the Fabian Round Table crowd, blah, blah, blah. So you can see kind of the picture that I'm painting, but let me keep going because it gets crazier. Field was a big deal. And let's see, the Field Foundation has a considerable CIA link during the time of the civil rights movement through the activities of a Leslie Dunbar, Dunbar, the head of the Field Foundation from 65 to 80. So for 15 years. Dunbar came from the Southern Regional Council as the research director and executive director, which was accused of taking CIA funds under his leadership. Dunbar later went to work for the Ford Foundation, which also has CIA ties, and it definitely does. Dunbar also was loosely connected to the Norman Fund, which also took CIA money. So you see what I'm saying? It appears that all of these things, when you start peeling back the onion, seems to have a very nefarious underlying connection. In an article written in the Washington Post called CIA Funds Aided Negro Registration, quote, the main conduit for CIA money to help the Negro voter registration drive was the Southern Regional Council, which received $60,000, which would have been basically $500,000 in 2000 in current day value, of CIA funds in 1963. The money was channeled through the New World Foundation, later ran by Hillary Clinton. So isn't that weird that the CIA is not supposed to be operating here, and yet they're doing voter registration drives in black neighborhoods? In 1962, $6,000, which would be about $50,000 today, of CIA funds went to the Southern Research Council through Aaron Norman's fund. In 1962, the Georgia Council on Human Relations got $2,600 of CIA money from the Norman Fund, and Norman officials deny any knowledge of financial ties to the CIA. I'm sure they do. The National Student Association, which received massive contributions of CIA money, was also encouraged by the CIA to push voter registration drives in the South for blacks. The CIA money to help Negro voting, and I'm just quoting this, so registration and militant civil rights groups was funneled through private foundations right under the nose of the Central Intelligence Watchdog Committee, headed by Senator Richard Russell of a Georgia Democrat. Both have made speeches denouncing the civil rights movement. So you can tell that was all just a fake bunch of bullshit. Another quote from Leslie Dunbar, quote, there was this son of a bitch, this guy who was working for the CIA, Mitchell Rogovin, Rogovin. I'm sure you know him. He's the CIA's guy within the IRS. Oh, the CIA's got guys in the IRS? And then represented the CIA before the Church Committee. He had become a big liberal lawyer in Washington, doing all the legal work for people like the Institute for Policy Studies and Highlander, which evidently is another group. I haven't researched them. We are over at the IRS, and Dewind, Dewind, I guess that's the name of somebody, and I went over to see him about the tax exemption for this new project. That was the only time I ever worked with him. It's just not so. Jack Anderson's accusation that my Southern Regional Council was given CIA money. As far as I know, the truth of that CIA money is the Norman Foundation, which did take some CIA money as a conduit for some things that the CIA was doing in Africa. So now you have the intermixing of CIA money through these foundations being used both in the United States and overseas. Let's see. The Ford Foundation was created in 1936, just in the lead in to World War II. And they basically, it says back in the 1950s and 60s, the Ford Foundation, Rockefeller Foundation, and the Carnegie Foundation and USAID took over CIA financing of the important America Africa Institute. Oh gosh, that's right, when they were cooing all the governments in Africa in order to prevent any kind of negative backlash in the future. So they're going to funnel CIA money through these corporations or these foundations so that the CIA can have plausible deniability, is what that's saying. And then in 1983, a guy by the name of Edward Bierman wrote an article, the Ideology of Philanthropy, the Influence of the Carnegie, Ford, and Rockefeller Foundations on American Foreign Policy. That may actually have been a book, because it says on page 131 through 132, the American Africa Institute was founded in Washington, D.C. in 1953. Again, right before they start the independence push in Africa for decolonization. Well, it happened at the same time. And then it comes to several years of civil wars over there. And by 1960, they're all claiming their independence and holding elections in the late 50s, early 60s, because Lumumba was murdered in 1961 in the Congo. So just to put that in perspective, this is the lead into that. They set this organization up so they can recolonize Africa after they, quote unquote, give them fake independence. Founded in 1953 and soon became an important non-governmental organization concerned, in air quotes, with Africa-American relations. Its private character was a major consideration when government officials began searching for an organization to administer the growing African scholarship programs in the mid-1950s. Now, these African scholarships, let me just point out to you that they are bringing Africans into America to co-opt them via the CIA by sending them to school and grooming them to be spies. That's what that scholarship program is all about. They did it both in the UK. They did it in the former colonial governments like Belgium for the Congo. They brought them in to these countries to groom them as spies to send them back so they can groom them up through political parties, and so they can control the future governments of these countries. There's nothing about this that's benevolent. In response to impending oh shit, they even say it. Began searching, I'm going to reread that because they actually just said what I said. Began searching for an organization to administer the growing African scholarship programs in the mid-1950s in response to impending independence for several West African countries. The CIA was centrally involved in the Institute's affair and remained so for well over a decade later. The chairman of the Institute's board of trustees during the 1950s admitted that, quote, the largest proportion of more than $1 million in 1950 dollars, which the Institute spent in the 1950s, came from the CIA, unquote. Nor did he find this particular noteworthy, since he felt that the Institute's scholarship programs, as well as other activities, served the interest of African students, the countries from which they came from, and the interest of the U.S. No, it served the interest of the international syndicate that was going to steal all of those people's resources. Officers of the Carnegie, Ford, and Rockefeller Foundations were distressed, however, when rumors about the CIA support for the institution began to circulate in the 1960s because they feared disclosure. the increasing vocal third world claims regarding the role of the CIA, which was intent on ensuring the indigenous regimes aligned with American interests, gained credibility as documentation of covert CIA activities affecting foreign nationals was revealed. Second, the Carnegie, Ford, and Rockefeller foundations were closely identified with the Institute through board memberships and program subsidies. In other words, they were helping fund it as well, which created a problem because they were trying to say that they were disinterested parties. Several years before the 1967 disclosure about the CIA funding for the Institute, representatives of the foundations gathered and decided that deliberate actions was necessary to place funding of the Institute on a more respectable footing. So that's when they all collectively got together and they started funding it, which then begs the question, where did they get their money? And that's why I'm saying that I think over the years through money laundering, and let me just give you an example that I came across a long time ago. But you remember me telling you the story of how the whole savings and loan debacle was an orchestrated money laundering event for the international syndicate. And by that, I mean, when I read a study that had went back and looked at the board memberships of some of the major savings and loans in the 80s that went belly up, and there was a remarkable overlapping of board members. So and I'm just going to do A, B, and C. So if you've got savings and loan A, savings and loan B's, like vice president, president, would be board members of savings and loan A. And then the customers, like the big customers, the money laundering drug lord customers of C, savings and loan C, would also be on the board of A. And so A would give loans to the customers of C. And then you have this big musical chairs where the people that are getting the money are on the board of another savings and loan, and they're giving the people who just gave them a loan at the other one a loan from their bank. So this happened repeatedly at all of the large savings and loans all over the United States. And then what you find is just before all of these loans began being made, the CIA, through their drug operations, would deposit, like laundering money deposit, $50 million in one of these banks. And they did it to Castle Bank, all of their fake banks like Nugent Hand and the BCCI in Pakistan, all of those banks. They did the exact same thing. They all end up going broke. And here's why. Because when the board members and the banking administrations in like savings and loan A loans $10 million to the guy from bank C over there, they're doing it based on fractional lending. They don't actually have that money. They just deposited dirty money of $50 million in their bank. They cannot loan out $9 for every $1 they have in their bank. They loaned these hundreds of millions of dollars out uncollateralized. So when the bank collapses, the people who's got the money now don't have to pay it back because there was no collateral against the loan. And so all of these people, and just before the collapse is announced, they pull the original 50 million out. This was done over and over and over again. And now you look around at the timing of that and all of these 1980s and 1990s foundations getting set up. Were they taking that money that they basically stole from us because we're the people that had our bank accounts at these savings and loans that went belly up and we got screwed? So you see how they're funding all of this based on taking money from us, just like what we discovered in the WWF. They put these heart-wrenching commercials on and hand out all these brochures, and all of these old people write them checks thinking they're saving the elephants. And basically all they're doing is stealing our money. The government gives those organizations money through studies and all kinds of other things. Well, that money is our money. It's not the government's money, it's our money. And they have come up with a large array of opportunities to fleece us. And the more I look into this, the more I'm absolutely convinced that that's exactly what's going on. So there's a big, long story on the Ford Foundation about their involvement in the CIA, not just in the programs that I was just talking about, but a whole bunch more, not just with that institute. Another thing that was written was in January 1953, David Rockefeller guaranteed his friend Allen Dulles the Ford Foundation presidency in case the newly elected President Eisenhower would not select him as the CIA director. Eisenhower did select Dulles. Rockefeller, Dulles, and Eisenhower all belonged to the Pilgrim Society. So, isn't that interesting that David Rockefeller felt that the Ford Foundation was the equivalent good place for Allen Dulles, just in case he didn't get to be the CIA director, which tells you emphatically that they wanted the guy who had been the CIA director to maintain that job. And the Ford Foundation was a good place for him to be to do that. It just speaks volumes. When Rockefeller agent John McCloy, also a Pilgrim Society member, was the president of the Ford Foundation from 58 to 64, while Dulles, at least several years overlap while Dulles was the CIA director, he appeased a number of executives by explaining that he went along with placing CIA agents in the Ford Foundation because otherwise the CIA would simply penetrate the foundation quietly by recruiting. So he's of the mind that the CIA is going to be here anyway. I might as well give them a desk and know who they are. What the hell? Henry Ford II was a member of the WWF Selective 1001 Club, which we talked about, with the Rockefellers, Rothschilds, Bechtels, Maurice Strong, Ford Motor Company president, Ford Foundation trustee McNamara, and others. The Ford Foundation was donated enormous amounts to all kinds of liberal mainstream programs like Pacifica Radio, Democracy Now!, The Nation, Progressive Magazine, the American Prospect Magazine, and an entity called Political Research Associates. They were also a financer of the Bilderberg and Trilateral Commission. And let's see. Then there's the, go ahead.
I just wanted to let you know when you're over target, when every single link that we keep posting down and up in the till actually has a disclaimer on it. For whatever reason, we are not just being slightly shadow banned now. We actually, this is just like.
What's the disclaimer?
Link. Yeah.
What's the disclaimer?
Sensitive. This post may contain sensitive information.
Sensitive to who?
Yeah, the truth is sensitive. The truth is really sensitive.
And the bulk of what we were posting were actually links to these foundations.
Oh, that's hilarious.
But it really, it really tells you when you're over target.
That's hilarious. All right. Another one was the Foundation for National Progress, the foundation behind Mother Jones magazine. Adam Hochschild, Hochschild. That's got to be a made up name. I'm sorry. Who has that name? Was co-founder of Mother Jones magazine. His father, Harold Hochschild, that's like you're trying to spit. Key founder of the Hochschild Foundation. I don't even like saying it. Was chair and honorary chair of the elite and at one point CIA backed African American Institute, now called the Africa America Institute. Oh, it was African America Institute. Now it's called Africa America Institute, with board members as, let's see, did they have the board members? These are just, I'm going through a whole bunch of articles that I had pulled up. Let's see. $500,000 grant. They got a $500 or $500,000 grant from the Schumann SCHUMANN Foundation, which evidently Bill Moyers is associated with, and they gave money to the National Foundation for. Well, no, that's what this is. They've got these backwards.
Is it the Schumann Center for Media and Democracy?
Well, there's the Schumann Center is all it's referred to here, so that's probably the same one. They also gave money to the Rockefeller Brothers Fund, the ARCA Foundation, which they fund the Institute for America's Future, Institute for Media Analysis, the Tides Foundation, blah, blah, blah. Then this is, let's see. I was trying to find, there was an article that I pulled up on, in Front Page Magazine. The title of the article from 2012, Panicked Soros Bankrolls Obama Campaign. Did left-wing Mother Jones spike a story revealing the radical mega funder's true state of mind? Quote, the new donations were announced by Soros spokesman Michael Vaughan at a luncheon Thursday hosted by Democracy Alliance, an invitation-only club of radical plutocrats. Former President Clinton and former Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi were also in attendance. The members of the ultra-secret Democracy Alliance had committed to swamping the Democrats and President Obama's re-election campaign in an ocean of cash this year. Donations could easily reach $100 million or much more before Election Day, especially because other Democracy Alliance members are following Soros's lead. The ultra-secret group, founded in 2005, is a financial clearinghouse that recommends to its wealthy members projects and groups. With that said, it is a fact that Mother Jones Magazine's 501c3 nonprofit Foundation for National Progress has received funding through Soros's philanthropies, Open Societies Institute, and Foundation to Promote Open Societies, period. The Democracy Alliance chairman and Taco Bell heir Rob McKay was a member of the magazine's board through the McKay Foundation. He has given the Foundation for National Progress money since 1999. Democracy Alliance member and Real Network CEO Rob Glasser also has given them money. Another member, Steven Silberstein, Silberstein, has given them money through his foundation. You see what I'm saying? This is just like musical chairs with these foundations.
A shell game, a giant financial shell game.
Yes. Another one, Diller, Diller, Von Furstenberg, Furstenberg, Family Foundation, founded in 1999, overseen by billionaire Barry Diller, his wife. His wife is Princess Diane von Furstenberg. Diane's son, Alexander, and Alexander's sister, Princess Tatiana von Furstenberg. Holy.
Say that again.
Yeah, I don't think I can.
Just you.
Basically, on this one, it says, while very minor in the traditional liberal CIA network here, the foundation has provided funds to People for the American Way, Oxfam America, Mercy Corps, and the National Resources Defense Council. That one comes up a lot. It is also more focused than usual on Jewish causes due to Barry Diller's heritage. It's given money to the Rockefeller Foundation, Mercy Corps, ARCA Foundation, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. It gives money to the, B'nai B'rith League of, the Anti-Defamation League of B'nai B'rith, Human Rights Campaign, International Rescue Committee, blah, 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 blah.
That B'nai B'rith was the beginning or very first of B'nai B'rith we found in Waco, Texas.
Yes. Yeah.
Interesting coincidence.
Yeah. In 2017, Diane's son, Alexander, is a director of Interactive Corp, which, apart from the Daily Beast, controls just about every online dating app, Tinder, OkCupid, BlackPeopleMeet.com, and a dozen others. Other directors of Interactive Corp are Chelsea Clinton, Edgar Brofman, Michael Eisner, and Chairman Barry Diller. The latter was the predecessor of Rupert Murdoch at Fox and Diane von Furstenberg's present-day husband. Huh. That's hilarious. So, dang, that's crazy. All right. So, is it just me, or is like this is just crazy? Google has.
It's not surprising considering all of these evil actors are connected. It's a total spider web of dirtbags. But it's crazy when you throw out the names. Is Nancy Salzman in there too?
I don't know. I think this is
Foundation.
Yeah, I think they're going alphabetical. Google, I think I set them up alphabetical. Google Foundation. Google Foundation had I love this guy wrote this overview of it. It says it's a relatively small $100 million endowment. In an article in The Guardian in 2015, it says Google's charitable chief, quote, "I have a strong sense of social justice," unquote. Most of the $100 million Google spends comes from Google global profits. The company's founding documents stipulate that 1% of annual profits to go to philanthropy. The rest comprises grants from the Google Foundation, which was established in 2005 with a $90 million endowment following Google's stock market listing. Um, the Google has major Democrat Party, Rockefeller, Bilderberg, and Trilateral Commission, as well as Jigsaw think tank, even covert operation ties. Its earliest history at Stanford also involves CIA, NSA, MITRE, which is a defense contractor, and DARPA oversight. Through the Digital Library Initiative and massive digital data system programs. Let's see. Larry Brilliant, the former executive director of Google Foundation, got involved in the Skoll, Skoll Foundation, and also has been very close to the psychedelics community, which includes the SEVA, SEVA Foundation, which is tied to Dr. Richard Rockefeller, David Rockefeller's son. Then let's see. Hugh Hefner Foundation. It was founded in 1964, and basically it's very small, but let's see, was used primarily for marijuana lobbying money, which is hilarious. We also have William and Flora Hewlett Foundation, and I've researched this one because this one comes up a lot with many of their associates, and they're very into the environmental system, environmental programs as well, with like the Energy Foundation, Climate Works Foundation, blah blah blah. Oh, and here's another Harold Hochschild Foundation. Oh my gosh. I forgot there was two of them. So this was his son's. There's one called the Joyce Foundation. That's from a lumber baron, David Joyce. And they set it up in the immediate aftermath of World War II in 1948 with an endowment of $950 million by 2017. And of course, Barack Obama was a trustee at the Joyce Foundation from 94 to 02. And in the World Net Daily, it says the groups Obama kept off his resume. Obama joined the board of directors of Chicago-based Joyce Foundation in 1994 and served on his board until 02. But evidently he didn't list it anywhere that he was even affiliated with it. So they must be doing something really good. It says the Joyce Foundation grant activity was closely linked to Obama's chairmanship of the Chicago Annenberg Challenge, a project of the Annenberg Foundation, which Obama came to chair, and also counted the involvement of Obama's radical friend Bill Ayers. Members of the Rockefeller Family Fund's Environmental Grant Making Association was also a donor to the Rockefeller Family Fund during Obama's tour on the board. It donates almost exclusively to environmental, like radical environmental projects. Partner of all the key major foundations in the financing of environmental groups, Friends of the Earth, Sierra Club, World Wildlife Fund, Greenpeace, and Natural Resources Defense Council. They also donate to pro-immigration groups like La Raza, feminist groups, League of Women's Voters, Tides Foundation, Mother Jones Foundation, National Public Radio, and David Brock's Media Matters. Lovely. And then people wonder why our country is so freaking screwed up. These guys are financing it. Kellogg Foundation, we talked briefly about that. I posted a couple of things about that. This is not the cereal Kellogg. John S. and James L. Knight Foundation. This one's come up several times too. These guys were, this fund was set up. There was an educational small fund set up in 1940, but this particular fund was set up in 1950, post World War II. And they're brothers. They have both joint funds and separate ones. They're located in Miami. CFR members. They basically have been board members of like the Andrew Mellon Foundation. Several of the people that have worked for them are members of the CFR. And then this one was a new one I had never heard of. LANNAN, Lannan Foundation. It's very, very secretive. You can't find hardly anything on it at all. At least I couldn't.
What was the name of it again?
LANNAN Foundation. They it appears that they give money to Mother Jones magazine, The Nation magazine. They fund Counterpunch, which is crazy left. And it says foundation founder J. Patrick Lannan can easily be linked to the CIA through his 36-year directorship of IT&T. Now, those of you who've been following me for a long time know exactly who that is. ITT is the company that basically went to President Nixon and was funding the overthrow of Allende in Chile. So, yes, they are directly associated with the CIA. And Lannan is also good friends with John McCone, former CIA director, and had him on the board of this foundation. Let's see. Mr. Lannan, this is from a New York Times article. Mr. Lannan was a director of the ITT Corporation for 36 years. He retired as director emeritus in May of '83. He was also a director and member of the executive committees of the Macmillan Publishing Company and a past chairman of the board and trustee of the magazine Poetry. In 1962, Mr. Lannan was one of 10 Americans chosen by the American Schools and Colleges Association to receive its annual Horatio Alger Award. At that time, he was chairman of the Susquehanna Corporation, an investment banking concern in Chicago, and was on the board or the executive committee of 19 major corporations. Mr. Lannan, that's exactly how the CIA operates right there. Mr. Lannan established the Lannan Foundation to give help to needy artists and writers, probably propaganda writers.
Well, isn't the Macmillan Maxwell?
No, I don't think so. I thought Pergamon is.
Yeah, Pergamon, but then wasn't it incorporated into Macmillan?
I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. That would be interesting to know. Since it would make sense, but but I don't know that. And then let's see. What else did they said about that? He
I
also
know on one of the things he said that the whole foundation was behind innovative, controversial visual and literary art. For what it's worth.
yeah, controversial. He gave to Democracy Now. He gave to The Nation, Mother Jones. And
Mother Jones. Oh my God.
I know, right? It's so crazy. Let's see. Next one, Lawrence Gelb, GELB Foundation. This too is a smaller one. Says listed here because it provided the New Age Esalen, ESALEN Institute, a one-time favorite of Lawrence Rockefeller, with funding along with the Mellon-linked Roy Hunt Foundation. The Gelb family is solidly part of the superclass. Lawrence M. Gelb Foundation. The background is it was established in 1957 in New York, who, along with his wife, Joan Clare, founded the Clairol Hair Color Company. Oh, God, I love it. So there's another one. Apparently, oh, yeah, they're all in with the George H.W. Bush crowd, Yale, CFR, U.S. Information Agency director Bruce Gelb was the son of Lawrence. So that's the CIA. The U.S. Information Agency is a front for the CIA. So yeah, these guys are all over the CIA. Richard Gelb, another son, was Yale and Harvard. He was a director at Bristol Myers Squibb. He was the CEO and president of Bristol Myers. And let's see, charter member of the Phillips Academy, co-founder of the New York City Police Foundation. He was a Scroll and Key director of CFR, trustee of George Bush Presidential Library Foundation in 2001. Blah, blah, blah. All right. So
That dude is a swamp creature. Oh my goodness.
I know. What?
Yeah, Macmillan was Pergamon Press.
Okay. Good to know. Definitely intelligence community. Oh, Libra Foundation. This is a very interesting one. Second largest foundation in Maine, tied to the billionaire Pritzker family. It's spelled Libra. And it says ordinary grants, but at the same time tightly linked to the Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies, MAPS, which count the involvement of billionaire Pritzker family as well as the Rockefellers.
Is that code for MK Ultra?
I don't know. I came across this.
Minor attracted persons.
Well, it's funny that because that's exactly when I first saw this this morning. That's what when it said MAPS, I'm like, what the hell is that? But it's Multidisciplinary Association for Psychedelic Studies. That definitely needs to go on the list of things that need further exploratory, because the fact of the amount of money behind it with the Pritzkers and the Rockefellers, it very well could be. It says, let's see, John Gilmore is an entrepreneur and civil libertarian. He was an early employee of the Sun Microsystems, software, free software and open source information, which is probably how they spied on people, along with being on the board of this whatever it is, MAPS. He was also on the Marijuana Policy Project. Joby, Joby Pritzker, is manager of direct investments at his family's office. And they also have, they have investments in everything, but have spent like hundreds of millions of dollars on the legal cannabis industry. And let's see, this Joby Pritzker is on the board of the Libra Foundation, that supposedly has emphasis on human rights, but basically marijuana. And let's see. There's a whole bunch of articles about, I'll try to post these later, about all of this stuff. Let's see. Like lots and lots of articles. John D. and Catherine T. MacArthur Foundation. Now, I found this one very interesting. They were the financiers of Harper and other magazines like Mother Jones and The Nation. This one was founded in 1970. A lot of the people like Rockefellers were on the board, and then they were on the board of other people like the Rockefellers Foundation. So a lot of overlap there. J. Roderick MacArthur Foundation. He's the son of the other guy, John D. MacArthur. And evidently they used to get into pissing contests all the time between the father and the son that was very public. And the son's foundation, it says over the years, his foundation was has supported investigations into racial discrimination in consumer credit and death squads in El Salvador, and even produced a documentary, Roger and Me, which was the first film of Michael Moore, which took on General Motors. The McKnight Foundation, the initial funds come from, it was founded in 1953. The initial funds came from Minnesota mining fortune of William and Maud McKnight. And the family still controls it. It has $2.1 billion in 2015. Oh, and look at that. Their members, they fund primarily National Resource Defense Council. And that shows up almost in every one of these. So that's another one I need to make note of to look into. They also fund the Sierra Club and the Tides Foundation. The Mellon Foundation, which of course everybody's heard of, they were members of the Pilgrim Society as well. There's agency money that has been in and out of the Mellon Foundation. Richard Helms was a frequent guest at the Mellon's house in Pittsburgh while he was CIA director. It was founded in the immediate aftermath of World War II in 1947. It currently stands at about $2 billion. And he was a member of the Pilgrim Society. Let's see. And there's several different ones, like Andrew has his own, Richard has his own. Andrews was formed in 1969. And there's an article that says it's a liberal CIA foundation that is particularly heavy financier of just about all prominent and semi-prominent colleges and universities throughout the United States. So basically, this is the one that funnels money to schools for the grooming of people in those schools, and to control the curriculum. Let's see. They even fund the Oxford University in England and several universities in South Africa, as well as Latin America. Let's see. There's another one that's kind of like a subordinate fund, if you will, that was ran by Richard Mellon, and his last name Scaife, which is part of the whole Mellon family. And there's a whole bunch of discussion about the fact that he in particular funded a whole bunch of the UFO stuff that made it appear, because of the close ties of the Mellon family in general to the CIA, that the whole UFO thing may have been limited hangout. A lot of articles about that. And here's a very interesting one. Paul Mellon's Bollingen, Bollingen Foundation financially supported psychedelic guru Alan Watts in the early 1950s, bringing him to California and eventually setting up the Esalen, Esalen. And I don't know if you guys have read anything about that, but that's one of those places that if they were going to do MK Ultra, that would have been one of the locations that it would have been done at. It was one of those kind of, I don't know, everything I've read about it sounds absolutely crazy. Then there's the Merck Family Fund. Let's see, it was set up in 1954 and basically has like $52 million in it now. And again, National Resources Defense Fund and Friends of the Earth, which was another one of the WWF kind of corollary groups. There's a separate John Merck Fund, which was set up in 1970. Charles Stewart Mott Foundation. And let's see, that was another rare one that was set up in the immediate aftermath of World War I. And Mott is from Flint, Michigan, and he was basically one of the original General Motor industrialists. It is also today one of the biggest foundations with billions and billions of dollars under management. Some of the people he gave to, same people. Friends of the Earth, Greenpeace, Natural Resource Defense Council, Sierra Club, Tides Foundation, blah, blah, blah. Another one is the Nouveau Foundation, which is the Buffett Family Foundation. And they give to, holy crap, I mean, a ton of people. Just a few. The Aspen Institute International Rescue Committee, which we came across in the WWF. Those are the people that create refugees. New World Foundation, Nike Foundation, Tides Foundation, Rockefeller Family Fund, Yale University, Lions Club, Population Council. Those are eugenicists. Let me see. They started adding a whole bunch of indigenous in the last, like 2016 forward. They had not given to any Indian, like Native American charity, but starting in 2016, weirdly enough, like hundreds of thousands of dollars to all of these different Native American foundations, like something was going on. Very weird. So, National Endowment for Democracy, we all know about that. It was founded in 1983 as an umbrella group for the American Center of International Labor Solidarity, Center for International Private Enterprise, National Democratic Institute of International Affairs, and International Republican Institute, IRI. It's financed primarily from USAID, which is us, but also from foundations from John M. Oland and several others. It has close ties to national security and covert operations. And of course, we know Ned is one of the people that does the groundwork for creating coups. It is also the co-financier of a thing called Poynter Institute, Poynter, which is a key element in the fake news and fact-checking network. New World Foundation, which is another very interesting one. Because it has direct ties to the CIA, founded in 1954. And it was founded with Edith Rockefeller, which is the sister of John D. Rockefeller Jr. And I'm doing some additional research on this one. So I'm going to publish that as a separate article because this one's crazy. It even has Rush Limbaugh used to call them out all the time. So anyway, you can see where this is going. I may do some more of these later or just do like posts on them so that we can, because I think it's very important that we have name recognition of all of these. And there's been a lot of research gone on in collecting articles that talk about each one of them and where they're donating their money. So I think that's important because what you find is what we just did, even by going through, we didn't even get through half of them. You see pattern recognitions already. You see some of these new organizations that I had never even heard of, that when you start diving down into them, you're like that National Resource Defense Council. You see that in almost every single one of these. It was created in 1970, and I have looked briefly at some aspects of it, but I think it was like the formal entree into climate change. I think it's like the thing that got all of that started. And I mean, every single organization gave to them. So it was almost like it was required. Because I'm not kidding. Of all the ones that I just talked about, every single one of them gave to them. So that's crazy. That's not an accident. And I mean hundreds of thousands. Like the Joyce Foundation gave them $4.7 million. The Mauricio gave them $4.3 million. So this is like a shit ton of money that they've been given over the years. So we need to know what they did. We need to know what they did with that money, which I'm going to bring it to you. So that kind of occupied my entire day digging into all of these different organizations. Because if we found what we found with the WWF, there's a lot more of them. And once I started digging and I started seeing the overlap, oh shoot, there's an organization. I didn't even see this one. It just caught my eye. Horn Foundation, HORN, gave close to $1 billion. Yeah, this is just crazy. So anyway, that one obviously needs a lot more research into it. But that's kind of how we find the stuff that we find, is by reading this kind of stuff and recognizing the patterns of all of these organizations all donating. And then you look at the WWF and you step back at the 30,000 foot look and you think, holy crap, if there's one, there has to be more than one. And then when did they all start? Well, like I said, 90% of them started after World War. I'd say 95% of them started after World War II. And it does look like it's just a massive money laundering operation. Anyway, let's open it up.
That was awesome.
Yeah. So what's your takeaway? Do you think it's possible that these foundations are all just a big smokescreen for CIA money laundering? Anyone?
It is, and it's one of those things where you pull a thread and it all unravels and unravels, and you can just, I mean, there is no end to it, it seems. And it's hard once, it's funny because Cousin It and I were just talking about this today. When you get into unraveling one of these big, elaborate schemes, it seems like it touches everything and it gets very overwhelming. And you have to really stop. And it's like, you know what? Go outside, break some leaves, or go do something where you're soaking up the sunshine, connecting back with the creator of the universe, and remembering that he's still in control. And that, like we've seen, and like we've been talking about, a lot of these networks have been unraveled, but the ones that haven't, we need to shine light on them, because like cockroaches, they just scatter and they'll reorganize under a new name.
That's true. They're definitely chameleons.
Becky, did you have a question?
I do. Hi, Colonel Towers. I just love listening to your calls. But, in addition to what they were doing with the WWF, do you think they're doing the same thing with a whole lot of NGOs like Save the Children and everything around the child trafficking?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Like, just some columns or whatever, like children and wildlife and pretty much everything, I guess, at this point.
I think they take everything that that pulls on our heartstrings in order to get us to think that they're doing something good. And what in fact they're doing is exactly the opposite. So the few, especially the children's charities like AmeriCares and some of the other ones, like the boys' home out in Nebraska, all of those types of things, they hide behind the most innocent things that normal people love and would do anything to help. That's what they go for. They are Satanists. They know where our weak spots are, and they leverage those weak spots to destroy us.
Okay, thanks. That's what I thought. I've been looking into this Liz Crook and stuff and everything going on around there. It's just disgusting. I really appreciate all your research. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we've, how many different, and that's where you really have to be careful with, like, the Boy Scouts. Now, are all Boy Scouts bad? No. But do they use those organizations to do nefarious things, just like the churches? no matter what group that's anybody, you have to double check because you can't rely on anyone else to protect your children.
That is absolutely true. Oh, go ahead, Stellar.
Hi. Yeah, no, I'm finding out that a lot of these foundations, all of them seem to be, and like you said, they're pulling on the heartstrings and stuff. And, a lot of the stuff they're able to hide through like the cryptocurrencies and things like that. They're trackable, but if they don't move around, you don't know who they are. So a lot of the different exchanges and account places now, you have to at least give them your name or whatever. There is a KYC because it is now following the Basel III protocols. Like when you open up, to a certain extent, when you're going on and off boarding and stuff, you do have to get KYC just like within the banks and stuff. So there is stuff going on with that. And with the ISOs that are mirroring, they're like in parallel, working in conjunction together and being able to, find a lot of this money that's been hidden and different stuff. And we see all this movement of Bitcoin coming out. I think we're getting close to the end of it, but that's what's, and all of this stuff is all trackable and traceable. And then if you look into like the foundations and stuff like that, the ones that are big donors to, foundations and stuff, you can see where there's a lot of, good old boy, quote unquote, deals that are going on where, they're greasing one hand, so it's going in one pocket and going out the other. But then, they might donate $1 million, say, for whatever, but they're getting probably about $5 million worth of perks, whether it's for whatever businesses they're in, tax or, duty-free zones, whatever it is. There's just a lot of shenanigans going on. And the thing that's really heartbreaking is it seems like a lot of this stuff, to be honest with you, that's going on, is working around to keeping everything secret from the people. And a lot of their, and every, Satanists and stuff like that, they're keeping that. They're spending so much money with the wars and just taking more and more stuff to dominate the rest of the planet. And it's disgusting of what's going on and what a machine that these people and the spider webs and the levels and layers, upside down, right side up, here, there, and everywhere. It's just absolutely insane that everything has their fingers in it.
That's absolutely true. Absolutely true. Yeah, and Bridget's right that the more you look into this, the more you have to step back and kind of reassess what you're finding. Because if you're like like a hunt dog with your nose down looking for all of the different pieces of information, if you don't pull back like I did today and kind of look at the entire landscape of what it is that you find every couple of weeks and kind of just let it digest, you won't see what the real puzzle looks like. It's like looking at all the individual pieces. You can't tell what the entire thing looks like. So very interesting.
That's what the funny, ironic or whatever, that we all, we might be out, in myself personally, out in the woods, clearing trees and monkeying around, and all of a sudden it hits me. Because a lot of times you can get so focused, so intensely focused on following these leads that I was explaining to Cousin Ed earlier. I said it's like, for lack of a better description, they talk about a crime scene and there'll be blood splatter on the walls. And if there's somebody standing there, there's an empty spot where there's a shape of a person. And it's like, you know what does, all of a sudden you walk away and it'll hit you. You know what? The dates, because Colonel Towner is always saying, remember the dates. And all of a sudden dates will click together and times will click together. And you'll put all the pieces together, and that empty space won't be in an empty space anymore. All of a sudden it'll be one thing that could only possibly be that, and but you can definitely get so deep into it that all you see is the evil, and you have to back away.
Make
Absolutely.
sure you say that prayer, put on your armor of God and just encompass yourself in love, because I'm overwhelmed by everything that you guys have shared and just blown away. And, the thing with Russia and NATO is escalating too, by the way. So, it's just kind of, how all this stuff is starting to circle around. The United States asked Modi not to go to Russia. Well, he did not listen. He went to Russia. So there's a lot of stuff moving around and things, and I see a lot of good things happening because, if we didn't know that, we're getting, because this is disclosure, you guys are just blowing all of us away by all of your disclosures, because you guys are just, tying so many dots together, showing how corrupt this whole world has been, and governments, politicians, and it doesn't matter where it's at, it's all over the flipping world. And I used to always say that every inch of this planet has had blood soaked on it. And, I used to say that, but I didn't really believe it. But I am really starting to believe that. And it is, this really truly is, good versus evil, and thank you so much. I'm blown away constantly every time you guys post anything, more connections, more dots, and whether people knew what they were doing or not, which I think that most of the bad ones did, especially the higher ups. It's just insane what they've done. And I'm so thankful because the light at the tunnel is there, in my opinion.
Well, and like that thread that I put out this morning, what I've noticed is that um, going to your point about um, the kind of the web of them and whether they know or not, what you find out is these NGOs are the perfect vehicle to have all of these um, meetings and associations. And then what I found was that they were paying for politicians to go on these junkets overseas. And the junkets overseas just so happen to correspond with WWF, ecotourism kind of venues. And then the Congress people come back and then they fund the USAID, who then funds these foundations. It's just a massive money laundering operation. And so that um, rabbit hole that I went down this morning was just crazy as it relates to that. It was just one person after another person after another person, and we've come across all of them. It's just they're all put together in a completely different way based on this other scenario where we have come across all of them in other scenarios, and then on this project they all intersect in a completely different way, but it's all the same people all the time. That's what makes it crazy. Just like this morning I pointed out that Brigade 2506, which is what the Felix Rodriguez guy was part of, it just keeps coming up because the CIA used them for not just domestic terrorism inside the United States, but they used them all over the world. That's just ridiculous.
Well, that's a good segue, actually, because I don't know if anybody's been paying attention, but the U.S. State Department just got caught trafficking weapons to Cuba.
No, I didn't see that today.
Yes, ma'am. So it was reported that there have been arrests at the airport for weapons smuggling, and apparently they traced it back to the State Department. And of course, they originated out of Miami. So big shock. This is my shocked face.
Yeah, isn't that the same place where the weapons were coming to Haiti?
Why, yes, it is. I'm sure that's just a coincidence. So meanwhile, we've got a couple of comments over on the Rumble channel.
Okay.
I'm not sure if you've been watching over there, but Cheryl Bosch says, not sure if anyone of y'all have heard of Nathan Reynolds from the Reynolds Company, but he escaped his family, and boy, does he lay out all of this foundation crap and all of the evil he experienced. And somebody else was saying that Kimmy2662, one of the MAPS founders, has been on the Joe Rogan podcast. So we'll have to look into that.
Yeah.
And let's see. Just
And
going.
you guys, we take your tips and we do run with them.
Yes,
you know,
we
sometimes
do.
we don't get a chance to respond later. And sometimes it comes out like a giant long thread.
Let's see. Sergeant Justice MK Ultra, which was made up of 149 sub-projects involving more than 80 academic institutions,
That's
prisons,
true.
and organizations. Absolutely. Let's see. There was another one here. I apologize. I'm trying to multitask. Sergeant Justice also stated MK Delta, like its successor, MK Naomi, was a mind control operation run by the CIA. It involved the use of biochemicals, which just traces back to that other, the Ukrainian biolabs and that kind of stuff. So anyway.
Wouldn't it be interesting if that led back to Fauci?
Well, it does lead back to Fauci. It does. That already,
Right.
I already found that. That led back directly to Fauci. Because he's not the NIH employee. He's a DOD employee, which is why he's one of the highest paid tool in the kit up there. He isn't NIH, he's DOD.
Isn't Fauci's wife NIH?
Yes.
Yeah, she was in
Yeah.
charge of medical ethics.
And
I would guess it's his beard, not a wife. It's probably a beard. That dude is so gay.
well, we have gay marriage legal in America. I married.
No, it's okay to be gay. It's just an expression because he acts like a cuck.
Well, and actually, have you looked at his wife?
Exactly. See, there you go, Bridget. I'm not saying anything about gay people. They're cool with me. I'm cool with them.
Yeah.
I'm saying these people marry dudes that dress as women, like Chuck Schumer's
George
wife.
Bush. George
Chuck
Bush.
Schumer, Bush Senior,
Obama.
Chuck Schumer. Yep. Well, there's not even a question of Obama. Bathhouse Barry is what they called him in Chicago, which is fine if he wants to be that way. I'd just rather have them be honest. Don't lie. Don't be ashamed of who you are. Come out of the shower.
Especially when you're running in a government office. All those cards should be put on the table, in my opinion.
I have friends that are gay. I could care less about your sexuality. It's the whole lying and marrying dudes.
Exactly. And then claiming it's something else.
Yeah, it's the lie. It's the projecting that they're straight when they're not, when they just might as well just say, hey, I'm married to a dude. It's a tranny. No big deal. Cool. More power to you.
more for you, because nobody else wants that stuff. Believe me.
I'm sorry. I follow the yeah. No. Just no. No. God said no.
I'm with you.
God said no, and that's good enough for me.
Like, I don't care if a dude's gay or a woman's a lesbian, I could care less. I have friends that are that way. It's just the ones that act the way they're that way and they're not. And they politicize it and they promote this stuff. That's the part that bothers me.
And that they're putting it on children. And that they're pushing it on children.
And see, there it is.
Even the gay community has come out and said not just no, but hell no.
Yeah.
When it comes to pushing this agenda on children.
They're the ones who are the most angry about it. That's the part that bothers me.
Well, and here's the thing. For the longest time, they would shove it down our throat that it's perfectly normal and that it's fine. And, it feels like give an inch, take a mile. That's what it feels like. Do you know what I mean? It's like I have a real hard time with it. I have a very live and let live attitude. But first it was like, oh, we should all be accepting. Then it's don't ask, don't tell. Then it's legalized gay marriage. Then it's parading around naked in front of kids. Bullshit. All right. I'm sorry. You go back to the depths of hell where you belong. Get on medication.
I'll go to tough, but nobody cares what you do in your home life and your private life. You can, be proud to be what you are. But when you make it a political thing, that's what bothers me. And that's where my statements come from. And by the way, the Alphabet Mafia now is promoting maps and want to add that to their xylophone alphabet of everything under the sun. By the way, identity politics is garbage. It doesn't matter what you do on your own time. You smoke weed, you don't smoke weed. You do drugs, you don't do drugs. No one cares. Who you sleep with, no one cares. That's what I'm just sick of all that.
Well, exactly. But see, that's the thing, right? So now all of a sudden we have to be accepting of maps, right? No, God gave us millstones for that.
Dirt naps.
All right.
They should get dirt naps for maps.
Exactly that. Exactly that. But see, this is where I'm saying, everybody's like, oh, we should be accepting. You know what? Bullshit. I'm done being accepting. I'm not accepting anymore. Right? Like you said, if you want to stay home and keep it behind closed doors, that's fine. You want to start parading around naked in front of kids and tell me that I should accept some groomer and some pedo? The hell I am. Right? I mean,
I'm with you.
No. Not only no, but hell no. And if anybody ever tried that in front of me, I have a Kubota and I know how to use it. So I apologize, Tough. Go ahead, honey.
Hi, guys. All right. So I have a couple things I'm going to say really fast. So as I was listening, I kept thinking about, it seems like, Colonel, you are, I don't know. It could be something else, but I think you're describing what the Bible calls the beast. You're breaking it down. You're revealing something that we don't even realize has come together as a perfect storm of control. And I noticed something weird with my credit union where I have my car loan. They encouraged me to connect to Wells Fargo. And I did it because of the way I switching money, into my credit union to make my car payment. And I felt really weird about it. And I probably am going to back out of it. But that's another thing coming together. And then those dating websites, when they're getting into our social, sex lives and romancing and all the stuff people do to flirt with each other and getting access to all that data, there goes the blackmail aspect, right? Okay, so now when it comes to this witchcraft or Satanism thing, that kind of is hard to comprehend, that people would think that is a real thing or something worthy of practicing. But I watched a video. The best video I've seen about the occult was this man that started out as a kid dabbling in witchcraft. And this is what was interesting about it. I have his video on my profile, and he has a big long beard, and he went into all the religions, from Satanism to Christianity to Mormonism, Kabbalah, and he describes the inner workings. But he said when he was a kid, he had some weird dreams, and he was influenced to ask for something. So he said, I want to make money. And he found $5 on the floor. Then a couple of days later, he goes, that was weird. I asked for money and I got it. And then, let me back up. He was invited to this group of nice people. They turned out to be a coven. They started teaching him how to ask for things with witchcraft attached to it. And the things appeared to him. So there is a supernatural connection to hooking people into, you truly can change things. And then he became a warlock, and then it became a sexual thing where he got a lot of attention from adult female witches. So he felt like a stud. And
did we
I
lose?
think all that stuff. What's that?
Oh, you cut out for a minute.
I'm saying that, and I've heard it said that the Satanism that's in our world today is very sexy, slick, and modern, and wealthy, and people are proud to be a part of it. So yeah, I just wanted to say that, the witchcraft stuff is very real. And one other thing, I know a minister who went to Africa to do ministry work, and he was in a church, and they said this house used to be Obama's grandfather's house, and it was a Satanist house. They did witchcraft and voodoo in here, and they bought the church to use it, because buildings are hard to come by in certain countries, and they just did a cleansing of it, and now it's a church. So I'll just send it there.
That's interesting.
Yeah, there's no doubt his father was weird, and his father was very evil.
It was either his father or grandfather's house.
Okay.
Wasn't Obama's mother? I mean, I know that she had a lot of ties to. They used to say that he was a red diaper baby, and I guess he's got. The mother had ties. Isn't it with like Angela Merkel or whatever her name is of Germany and stuff, and the ties to Argentina, or no?
I've not heard that.
I never did.
I have, but I can't remember in what context. But yeah, I think I know what you're talking about, because I'm getting a kind of deja vu moment. But I don't have it right off the top of my head. Because I know that they were saying like Angela Merkel was like his aunt, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, and Angela Merkel must be Hitler's daughter.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the rest of it. Thank you. Okay, so I do remember it that way as well, but I don't have anything in front of me though.
And then I guess one of Angela Merkel's they say they're related, supposedly was in the parliament for England. So I just found that to be very interesting as well, considering, but who knows?
I read something saying that the Saudi Arabian Prince Al-Waleed was the one that paid for his college education.
He did.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Which is really strange, because Satoru had bags of money from screwing around in Indonesia and stealing all the oil and gold in Indonesia. So why they had to get like a sponsor to go to Harvard, I don't know.
Is because they had to have a separation from Lolo Sortero, the guy, the Sabu cult guy from Barack, because they look exactly alike. And yeah, Alawi bin Talal did finance his college. He also picked his first cabinet because he was the largest shareholder of Twitter and Citibank. And all of Obama's first cabinet were bankers. He didn't even pick his own cabinet the first time around.
Right, and Citibank was Jamie Dimon.
Yeah.
Yeah, who's the Epstein bestie. So there you go.
Yep. And he's also, Alawi bin Talal's the guy who was trying to assassinate Mohammed bin Salman in Las Vegas. And that's why Mohammed bin Salman shut down and arrested all of the Saudi royal princes and kept them in a 5-diamond hotel and made them give up their fortune. He had to give up like $6 billion of his money and lost his title because it was between him and Alawi bin Talal to take over to be the crown prince. And obviously Trump made sure of which direction that went. And now look at what Saudi Arabia is doing with BRICS. It's a beautiful thing.
They backed out. Right? No, they backed out.
No, they didn't. They did not.
They're putting it on a pause right now. They are going to be working with, this is a good thing, the bonds that the United States has, because again, we can't trade with a lot of places. So they're putting together, they're working in conjunction. I look at this as a partnership, not as anything bad. So they had to separate from BRICS. I look at everything as optics because we're getting closer and closer for this flip. And like Golfing and I talk about it all the time, and he's completely right. And I think that I'm right too, where all of this stuff is going to be a culmination of things happening, whether it's, I believe that the banking system and this facade is going to end up falling because there's only so much you can do with a shell game. And without the fundings that they had before, and everything is being tracked and seized instantaneously, with, if you see all this movement of Bitcoin and Ethereum and different things like that going, onto the markets and everything right now, if you watch the whale alerts, you can see a lot of movement of wallets that have been closed and not used, inactive, literally since 2013. So that means they're having to dig very, very deep to get whatever it is that they need out, because this facade is costing lots and lots of money. And so I just look at that as, this is just another way of, instead of fleecing the public, this is actually fleecing the deep state and ridding them of any extra, capital that they may have, because they're already going to get lots of money as things go down, because how these institutions work. They know prior to, they do the insider trading with our with all the heads of the world. I mean, that's how they fleece the world 100%. So they know what's going to happen beforehand. So they put their shorts in because, they have a second ledger. There's a private ledger that they have. When we have like all these different 3-letter agencies, those agencies were set up to protect the people. It was flipped, and it's protecting them and harming the people, because that's how they get their money, is through us, not only through taxes, which is a big, huge laundering thing, the foundations, all these aid packages, they're, you guys are exposing that. Yeah. And there's so much stuff going on here, there, and everywhere. And that's how they make their money. They lost a lot of money during Trump's presidency because there weren't any wars. There's just cleanups and stuff like that. But there weren't any new wars that happened. Countries were rebuilding on their own, and when that happens, that worries the deep state and the Western banking cabals, because, they fund both sides, and then both sides have to rebuild, and it's just fleecing of the people. Hearing about, the palm oil, the, WWE, WW, all of these different places, now it makes you think, those crying kids that are on the commercial that you spend $10 a month to feed them for however, all of that. I mean, everything is just whatever they can get money out, from people. And it's just disgusting. And in return, it's enslaving them more. It's ruining the environment they live in, so that their natural skills, like you guys were talking about those people that was it yesterday or the day before, something that's been passed down generationally as far as the farming and how to do that kind of stuff, that is now gone forever. The Monsanto, the GMOs, the pesticides, what it does to the natural, real heritage, say, seeds and plants, it ruins them. And so all you can do, is get that stuff, which has been modified, that they're giving to animals, they're giving it to us, and we're eating it. They're having issues cooking oils that are toxic. They're poisons, but humans are resilient. So I know that we're going to get through this, but it's just amazing. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to rant, but it's getting cleaned out. And that's why I believe that a lot of these things are coming out, as far as the Bitcoins coming out onto the market, ramping up this war thing, whether it's going to move the market up or down. They're going to try and make us, fleecing the public as they can. So yeah, and as it gets more and more exposed, that's fine. I mean, I'm reading stuff on Twitter, and there are people praising how wonderful Biden did. I know that it's bunk, but I'm encouraging them. Yes, keep them on the ticket till November 5th. So that's where I'm at. Sorry, I'm done.
What, on that point, I actually think it's Trump that's going to keep Biden in the race, while Obama and the rest of them are going to try and get him out. That's what I heard the other day. It seemed to make sense.
Okay, so the fact, and so I got into an argument with someone on Facebook. I'm having fun with this. This is actually really fun.
Are you really on Facebook? Oh my God.
I have to, because I have to. I mean, I'm not getting banned as much as I would. So it's kind of nice. And I have trolls in there too. And so one person, I was mentioning something, and they said something else about the elections and stuff, and he said I needed to get educated. So I pulled up something from Mike Johnson, stuck it on there, and I put the video of where the government, voted to let illegals, and then he's showing me something from, like the US.gov that says, what the criteria is to vote in the United States. So I pulled up the criteria of what it is to be a vice president or a president in the United States, hoping he'd bring that argument of anchor baby, because I used to think that too. But after I was enlightened by everybody, golfing and stuff, and I had to dig farther, and then I found the statute where it's written in that, even if you were born to a foreign dignitary, this is the only exception within the anchor baby part of the Constitution. And it was a newer one that was put in, and it states if you were born during, in the United States and your parents were a foreign dignitary, you cannot apply for citizenship until you are 18 years old. So my argument was, if you're going by what the stipulations are, in your US.gov, which is what we're supposed to be doing, and through our Constitution, she would not be vice president now, which makes me think that they think it's going to be their little golden ticket, like what we talked about the other day with like Ford and Nixon, and then before that. So, that thing is still in my mind, keeping Biden on the ticket, because you come into the financing, election financing. And if you dig through that rabbit hole, as well as I do, they have no money to give back to the people that donated that they've already spent. So, because it would all have to be returned. So that's another issue. And so, there's a lot of issues on that part. But my point was, if that were the case, then she wouldn't be vice president right now. It would not have happened. So the clown show is still continuing. So, get the popcorn out, because it's going to get really interesting.
Agree.
It honestly makes my head hurt. It really does. I was telling Bridget earlier, everywhere you turn, it's just another shitstorm. It really is. It's insane. So it's nice to have the good news once in a while.
Oh, yeah. And what, we were talking about that gentleman that was on, and I cannot think of his name, on Alpha Warriors show. There was something he said.
Mike
really
King.
resonated. Thank you. Resonated with me. And it was, today's news was tomorrow's history. And we're living through things that have never happened before. We're witnessing the first time of good and bad, but we are truly witnessing, we are living through something that is going to be written in the history books. We're going to make sure of it.
Well, we've definitely written enough about it.
Right?
Well, one of us has.
We can say those to me, yeah.
Yep.
And you're right. Everything that you guys have shown, there's like a little bit here, a little bit there. And like Colonel Tanner, I heard her talking about, like, when she reads the book, she writes notes in the margins. She puts like her way of being able to connect the books together by what one person says to this one. And by doing all of that, you've made things, and Bridget and Cousin It, and the way that you guys explain things, open up so much of a wider view of what's going on. I mean, yeah, I might have been following money here, there, and seeing it go all these different places, and not really, just following the fraud without knowing, with the dates and times and stuff like that your guys are talking about. It's like, holy shit, holy crap, it's just crazy. It's crazy because, like, I have this one layer, if you want to call it, a straight line timeline type of a thing as far as the money. You guys have the timeline with the wars, the coups, the people that were involved with it, the companies that were, or the countries that were involved. And then it's like, holy crap, your timeline and my time. And it's just, and then other people that add to it is just insane.
Well, I'm tracking Obama and his bioweapons labs, Baxter Laboratories, which also released the H1N1 disease. And
Bing, bing,
Obama was directly involved with that. Oh, and they were
planning on they were planning on forced vaccinations back then.
Yeah, 2009. And oh, fun fact, Baxter Labs, they're in Ukraine.
And didn't he go to Ukraine before he became president while he was still a senator with Fauci and stuff? Or was
Yeah.
that,
Gold
Yeah.
star.
or was that it
Get
when
a
he,
gold star.
okay. And there was another thing. Hold on, there was another thing. Give me a minute. My brain goes
You're
too
right on.
fast. I can't talk fast enough because my brain goes too. I really wish that we could get those powers to be like telepathic, so instantaneously it's like how like a computer downloads everything. Boom. I wish I could do that with everybody without having to speak. My tongue doesn't go fast enough.
Right.
So
Well, you get a gold star. You were dead on.
who did he go to Ukraine with?
Fauci.
What other senator?
Right?
Oh, wasn't
McCain?
it Graham?
Wasn't it?
Was it Graham or McCain?
Neither one.
Oh, I don't know.
Trivia question.
Who's the who is
I gotta
the
go. I gotta go to my notes. Hang on.
who is the lab
Lindsey
in
Graham.
no who's the lab in Ukraine and Georgia named after? Republican Senator Dick Lugar from Indiana.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
that's interesting.
you're talking about Pedo Pence?
No, I'm talking about Dick Lugar.
But I wonder if Lieber. Well, isn't that interesting?
Yeah, actually the level 4 biolab in Georgia and the country of Georgia and the one in Ukraine is named after Senator Lugar.
Oh, Richard Lugar.
Yeah.
Very interesting. And then
Wonder what.
you
Yeah. What's his
Oh.
backstory? Do you know?
What do you mean?
aren't there guns named Luger that are from Germany?
Yeah, I don't think that has anything to do with this guy, but these guys are it just goes to show you the uniparty perspective, because Dick Lugar was very close to Barack Obama.
What state was he from again?
Indiana.
Indian.
Indiana. Oh, and wasn't Mike Pence from that area too?
Yes.
And then with what Marie was talking about, with the the jab stuff, and the radiation and all that other stuff, that's just kind of crazy.
Yeah.
That's a rabbit hole that definitely needs to be done.
Yep.
Well, it's been over 2 hours. I guess, ma'am,
Yep. We're done.
I can hear you fading fast.
Yep. All right. Well, I appreciate everybody being here. We've got one more evening to do tomorrow night, and I'll figure out, we are going back to looking at countries. We've got at least 2 smaller ones to do in Africa, but we'll probably do at least 2 or 3 days on Africa, the different countries, because, well, I mean, 2 or 3 days of the old stuff, and then we've got probably 2 or 3 days of the more current stuff, because of course there's coups going on over there right now, and try to kind of dissect which ones are organic, trying to throw the CIA out, which is the preponderance of the ones going on right now, as opposed to 1 or 2 that really has been where the National Endowment for Democracy has been very active. And those are ones. Go ahead.
So So I don't know what time tomorrow you want to have our get together, but Froggy is hosting Marie tomorrow night at 7 p.m.
Okay, well, we won't be doing it at 7:30 then.
Okay,
So-
just wanted to throw it out there.
Yeah, I'll call you guys in the morning and we'll come up with a different time.
Make sure
Okay.
to let me know because I want to be able to listen to the space that you're doing tomorrow.
Okay.
It's just Marie was trying to pick a time.
No, that's
and
fine.
I guess she's old. She can only go for like 2 hours and doesn't want to open up the conversation. I'm just joking because she's the homie. But she has her space from 4 to 6. So if you guys do it in the morning, I'll, whenever you decide to do it, let me know and I'll make sure if I'm at least listening.
Okay.
But hey, people in the space, please retweet and share the spaces when you're in the space because we have to have more activity on the sharing side than having, 16 or 20 people share the space because it's good information and people want to hear it. So I just wanted to say that to be kind and because Colonel Towner and Cousin It and Bridget do a really great job of research and they give you a lot of information. And I don't know about anybody else, but I'd rather hear information spaces than arguing and bitching and crying, and complaining, and having people just want to hear themselves talk. That's just tiring. That's why I'm not doing a lot of spaces unless it's topic driven. I do Monday spaces. I'm going to do the Joe Brown space because it'll blow Kamala's, actually, I'm not even calling her Kamala. If everyone could just call her the casting couch VP, we need to get that trending because it's
I
the
call
truth.
her the,
I like so better.
I call her the hyena.
Or you call her anything you want, but remember to put the casting couch VP because people don't realize that she got on her knees to get a job as a DA. So people need to understand she's a hooker.
Also, anybody that any of the great information that Cousin It and Bridget puts in the pill, please go repost that. It does drive up the visibility of the space, and we really appreciate that support. So with that, I think we're gonna close it, and we'll get as soon as I can get a hold of these guys in the morning, we'll post a time for tomorrow. Thanks everybody for being here.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Colonel.
everybody.
Thanks.
Thanks for your help,
Colonel.
Froggy.
Thanks, you guys. We love you. Thanks, everyone. Please repost because this stuff is really important for people to connect the dots because this stuff is actually happening here in the U.S. These other things of history is just